It is Thursday, December 19th. Thank you again for joining me for our weekly PPACA webinar. As you know, we have them every Thursday at 9:30, and as I've told many of you, I will continue to offer these webinars as long as there are questions and as long as we're still working through this chaos. So keep your questions coming, and thank you for listening in every week. So without further ado, I am going to get started. Last week we talked a little bit about the successes of healthcare.gov, and I have to say that you know, there are still many glitches. There are still many concerns, namely with the security of the site. But at this point, for a 1/1 effective date, unfortunately, that is the best way to really secure a 1/1 effective date for your client. The over-the-phone application, although it seems to be a little bit of an easier process, there's severe lag time in your client getting their subsidy determination and their plan choices. And we're about 11 days out from the close of business for 1/1 effective dates, and there's just not enough time for an over-the-phone application. So I would suggest, again, that you go on to healthcare.gov and go through an enrollment with your client, get a client that is certainly loyal to you and understands the frustration of the website, and go through the process. Of course, we all know that the payment methodology or the payment functionality of the site is not working. So what I've been doing when I'm helping my agent partners enroll their clients is to do a print screen of the confirmation page that shows that they are confirmed with their plan choice. And on that screen print, I write in the application ID that was issued on healthcare.gov, and then I have them make a payment to their chosen carrier. I'm working on trying to find a realistic way of checking with the carriers to determine if enrollment really has been submitted from HHS to the carrier or the enrollment information, but there doesn't seem to be a really quick way of doing that other than going, you know, case by case and checking on the submission. We will be doing this, and we're happy to do this, obviously, but we're not going to be really able to check on these enrollments until, unfortunately, till really after the fact, because the carriers are behind in enrolling the clients. So there's certainly more to come on healthcare.gov and the saga, as we've named it, but at this point, I would encourage you, again, to go onto healthcare.gov, play around with it, and get a willing participant to go through an online enrollment. I did help an agent partner enroll 2 clients yesterday. The one client was willing to have me print the screen, do a print screen of the enrollment process. So I am working on a PowerPoint to get out to everybody as a guideline, but it was just done yesterday morning, and I have to go through and redact all of the personal health information in order to get that done. There's certainly no way to do a live presentation that everybody can watch, because obviously there's sensitive information that has to be given during the enrollment, and there's no way to get through the screens without giving the information. So we're, of course, at a catch-22. But stay tuned for that. I hope to have that done. If not this week, then early next week, and I will absolutely get this out to you in a separate email as well as in my weekly newsletter. And just, you know, a little bit about my weekly newsletter. I really do try to get pertinent information that will help you in writing business into each of those newsletters, and I'd encourage you to, you know, even with the craziness of the season and the craziness of this enrollment period, just to take a few minutes and peruse through the newsletter and click on the items that you think are relevant to you. But please, please do at least look at it and try to obtain some information from that newsletter, because again, I really do try to fill it with information that will help you in the long run. CMS, as many of you do know or maybe don't know, released some new guidelines as of 12/1. Now, this information is actually, it's tips for helping consumers with agents and brokers, and there are two ways. The one way that they suggest is having an issuer direct FFM link, and the carriers are certainly not up and running with this yet. I did talk to several, and they are going to allow for this functionality. However, you know, true with most things, CMS issued the missile saying, yes, this is possible. However, the carriers that are willing to do this, they are tied up with CMS with the testing of the links. So, you know, again, it's a bit of getting the news out just to cause more chaos, I think, in my cynical way. But at this point, no carriers in Pennsylvania have this functionality where you can have either yourself or a client log on to the carrier-specific website and gain access to healthcare.gov through you know, an interface. That functionality is just not up and running yet. The second way that they suggested is for the agents to help the consumers is to have you know, again, your clients go on to healthcare.gov and help them create an account. And you know, again, once I release this information on the PowerPoint, I think it's going to be a lot easier to understand. Essentially, when you have a client that you want to enroll, you log on to healthcare.gov, you hit the login button, you create an account. The account is specific to your insured, your client. So they would need the name and email of your client. That email is important because once you go through your 3 security questions, an email is sent from HHS to that email that you input, and it's, in order to move forward, you have to receive that email and click on it to verify that, yes, John Doe did indeed create this account. Once that link is clicked on, then the rest of the process is relatively easy. I've been getting a lot of questions about clients that don't have emails or computers, and you can do all of this over the phone with your client. If they don't have an email, when you do click on the login screen and create an account, there is a way for you to create a free email within that system, and there's links below on the FFM so that you can do that on behalf of your client. So, you know, again, we're working through these issues. If you have very specific questions about enrolling your client, please give us a call. We can help you through it. I would suggest, again, since the functionality of the payment is not working, to print a screen that shows if an agent or broker, of course, is helping them, and that should hopefully tie up some of the loose ends that we're experiencing or have experienced from the 10/1 enrollment up until 12/1. Because of the issues with attaching agents to the cases, I can say that I strongly encourage you to get a quick note from your client saying that they want you to be their agent of record and that they applied on the healthcare.gov on such and such a date and that they want you to be the agent of record. Hold on to those letters. I'm not sure how we need to get those to the carriers at this point, but start getting those and hold on to them, and I will certainly let you know when we need those. Another suggestion is the signed Appendix C, which is part of the healthcare.gov app, and that Appendix C has all of your information on, and if the client just signs and dates that form, I think that will also be sufficient to affect a BOR, a broker of record, so it would attach you to that case. Again, just hang on to them, and I will let you know when we need those. There are many of you that logged on to the webinar we had on Tuesday, which is to give you an update on the EBIX quoting portal that we have. And we are very close to having all of the carriers on the quoting portal for the free portion as well as the upgraded. And we are in the testing phases for the web broker contract, which would tie in the EBIX portal to the FFM and make it a little bit more user-friendly. So stay tuned for that. We're going to have, obviously, some more updates on that as we get closer to the release. Until then, you know, utilize your case managers for quotes, and also healthcare.gov. You can actually go in there and get an accurate quote, minus the subsidy, but an accurate quote for all plans available to your client in their specific zips and counties. So more to follow on that as well. I mentioned WHP 580 because I was asked to be on the radio tomorrow to talk about some of the issues with healthcare.gov and the PPACA law, Obamacare, if you will. And I'm going to be on WHP 580 AM tomorrow from 3 till 4:45, 5 o'clock. So if you're in the area and want to log in or tune in, I would appreciate having some kind ears, kind listeners in the audience, and you know, hopefully you can learn something new. I'm not quite sure what kind of questions I'm going to be asked. It is a bit of a left-leaning show, so hopefully I will do all of us justice and go out there and support the agent and broker community. You know, my next item is my call to action, and you know, through the weeks, again, we've been offering these weekly webinars and the weekly newsletters for more than 2 months now. And I know that many of you that are logging in are not yet either licensed or doing business with URL, at least on the individual or group health side. And I would ask you that, you know, it might be a good time for you to consider using URL. I think we've more than proven ourselves capable of assisting you through this chaos. And the question I want to ask is, if you're not using URL for individual and group health, and you feel that it's important to keep you informed and you log in every week to our webinars, then I ask you to ask yourself what your current general agency is doing for you and supporting you through this chaos and this process. And you know, again, please consider using URL, and we'd be happy to support your business and support your growth in business, as we do with our agent partners. So that's my call to action for you. We have some submitted questions, and as is the norm, if you do have questions that you did not submit prior to the webinar, if you want to type them into the question box to the right of your screen or raise your hand, I'd be happy to answer those during our open forum. So at this point, I'm going to talk a little bit about the questions that were submitted. Brian is asking, he says that he's submitted 4 or 5 apps online through the exchange, and the make payment button does nothing. Of course, we've discussed that. Highmark says they received the app from healthcare.gov and generated an invoice to the customer. Other than the customer actually receiving the invoice, how do we know Highmark is actually processing the app? And second question, clarity on the received by date of application for a start of 1/1. Well, again, we're working through a process to see how we can easily check to see if cases have been submitted through the exchange, and check with the carriers to make sure they are being communicated or have communicated the information from HHS. So we're working on a process through that. I would say in the meantime, start getting together a list, if you have not already, and you should be, of the clients that you have enrolled on the website, and the date that you enrolled them, and the plan choices and carrier that they chose. Get that ready for when I give the go-ahead, and we'll be able to check on those for you. As far as the received by date, it is still confusing. Technically, the law says that the enrollment includes payment to the carrier. Well, even now on healthcare.gov, when you enroll for a 1-1, it says that payment must be received. Enrollment has to take place, meaning you have to choose your plan by 12/23, but payment has to be received by 1/1 for the carrier. I don't necessarily trust that. If you're enrolling people and you enroll them up to 12/23 and have their plan choice, I would encourage them immediately to turn around and send that payment into their chosen carrier so that they can secure coverage. I don't want them to get caught in a bottleneck or fall through the cracks. It's something at this point, since we're in crunch time for a 1-1, to immediately, once you enroll, print that screen out and send that payment in. Another question, well, the other question was from Timothy, and the question was relative to finding out what's happening to the apps that are submitted on the exchange, and we've discussed that. Brandy asks, what happens when the Kaiser calculator is wrong? She has a client that did her subsidy on the Kaiser calculator, and the subsidy was $171 a month. After the phone call into the marketplace, they said her subsidy is $13 a month. And she wants to know if she needs to fill out an appeal from the marketplace. Well, the marketplace actually does use the Kaiser Family Foundation, so it may have been an interpretation of income and what was input into each system or told to the marketplace versus what was put into the Kaiser calculator. Brandy, if you want to give me a call or email me the exact details, we'll see what we can do. If she feels that the information is incorrect, then I would have her complete an appeal, definitely. And let me see here. Margie is asking questions about the EBIX webinar on Health Connect, which is EBIX, and she wants to know if we can send quotes to our prospects and have them apply online themselves. Yes, that is a functionality now of the upgrade on the EBIX system, and the approximate cost, well, the cost right now is $55 a month as the system is now. When it is integrated with our web broker contract, the rate will go up a bit, but I feel very comfortable in saying that it will be under $100, possibly even under $75. So you're looking at anywhere from $75 to $100 as opposed to the $55 now. And she wants to know if the site will be secure. Well, I can tell you that the EBIX site is definitely secure, but when it pops in to the FFM, it's as secure as the FFM is now. So take that for what it means. And she wants to know if there's anything on the E&O liability for brokers regarding the subsidy. And there's nothing really, other than one of my agent partners has actually started recording calls specific to the income. If she's asking about the income, she is recording that information so that she has something to fall back on. And she asks the question several times. So you're saying your 2014 income is X, and they'll confirm or deny. And then when she puts it in, she'll confirm again, saying, okay, just to confirm that you did indeed say your income for 2014 will be X. So, you know, I hate to do business that way and hate to have you cover your butt, so to speak, but unfortunately that's the way we have to do business now, and until things are hammered out, I'd say that that's the best way you can, what you can do to protect yourself. And let's see here. Those are all my submitted questions, and I'll open it up now to any questions that you have live. If I do see some hands raised, so let me get to those first. And Brian, can you hear me?
Yes.
Brian, do you have a question? Oh, okay. Hand went down. Looks like Ann has a question. Ann, can you hear me? All right. Looks like the hand raising is not going swimmingly. So let's get to the submitted written questions. And let's see here. Kenneth says that he's been working the 65-plus market, and he wants to know, he says, would you please give me some reasons why I should be working this market and going through the learning curve in light of all the frustration brokers and consumers have experienced? That's a really great question, Ken. I can tell you that I get that a lot, too. One of my agent partners asked me earlier this week, when I told him I was helping my agent partners with the online enrollment, he said, well, why are you doing that? And, you know, part of me wants to say, I hope that this whole site and law implodes upon itself, but the other part of me recognizes that there's an opportunity for all of us here. There is volume, volume, volume. And yes, it's frustrating. Yes, the compensation is low. But when you are being approached by all of the clients that I know you are, what do? Do you take advantage of that? I can tell you that health insurance is still the absolute #1 way to get in the door of a client, to make them a client for life, to then sell them their Medicare advantages, to sell them their final expense insurance, or talk to them about their investments when they retire. So there's great opportunity, and if you're working the 65-plus market, that of course ended on Saturday, the annual enrollment period, and I can tell you for all of the people that will be aging in 2014, you're going to have an underage spouse that's also going to need to be taken care of. So the idea of getting into the market, I think all I can say is opportunity. Brian asks, if off-exchange app submitted to URL, will they be effective 1/1? Yes, they will. We have a lot of applications that we've submitted up for 1/1. For applications that for 2013 effective dates, Friday is really the cutoff for many, many carriers. Highmark has extended their enrollment cutoff date till 12/23 or to 12/23 for a 12/31 effective date, and of course Health America One will allow applications up until 12/31 for a 12/31 effective date. If it's been submitted and will be submitted by 12/23, then we'll get it in for 1/1 to Highmark, and that's pretty much it. We have to adhere to the carriers as well. I do expect that they will have some delays, extensions, but at this point we have to go with what they're telling us. Sharon asks, did you say that we can get an email from the client indicating that we are the broker of record as proof to be paid? Sharon, that might be a way too. What I suggested at the beginning was a written letter, or have your client sign and date the Appendix C, but an email should suffice as well. Tracy says that she's had great success with Blue Cross of Northeastern PA for the people that she's enrolled. They have printed and sent out a batch of ID cards back on the 4th, and clients have received their cards and are marked within the system for a 1/1 effective date, and their payment has been received. she's been calling, she says, to confirm payment received and the start date. Certainly that's one way to do it, but I think the carriers are going to be inundated with that information. So again, if you can get us a list, it's not going to be this week, but I will most likely ask for it next week. We can start checking on some of these. And Rich asks, how long is the process from start to finish for approval on an application on the website healthcare.gov? Well, it depends how many people are applying and how many, the time of day, and let me back up. How many people in the family are applying and the time of day in which you go onto the site. It takes a good hour, but it does help if your client has all of the information required up front, so you can, again, use that paper application as a template for what they're going to need. And when you sit down with them, either over the phone or in your office, it should take no longer than an hour. And when they go through the enrollment process and submit their information, hopefully immediately they'll be able to view the eligibility results and then go right into viewing their plan choices and looking at the plan choices, clicking the enroll button, and enrolling. And Ann asks if we're currently on the updated EBIC system at $55, will we be grandfathered in, or will there be an increase for us as well? And I do believe that there will be an increase. I'm not sure if they're going to, if there's going to be an upgrade versus the web broker upgrade, but I can check on that for you. If it's either or, then you can choose. If it's not, then there will be an increase. Kathy asks, if people don't get their app in by 12/23, will the next effective date be 1/15? No, it will be 2/1. And Brian asks, off exchange app submitted to URL, will they, oh, that was already written. Nate asks, has Geisinger released commission rates for the marketplace? And the answer to that is no. Geisinger and NEPA have not released their commissions. They keep telling me they're very close. I've heard this for weeks, but I have to trust that we're very close. I do believe that both carriers will be paying commission on the individual side. I just don't know what the amount of it is. Nate's asking about the Highmark commissions, if they're $12. Nate, for Highmark, it depends on the area that you're writing, and if it's a Community Blue-based product or a Highmark Broad Network product. For Highmark Broad Network products, it could either be $12 per member per app, up to 5 people per app, or $8 per member per app, up to 5 people per app. And that's for the first 3 years. Capital is 6% level, and it's the same on the marketplace as off marketplace. Wanda asks if others are having problem with healthcare.gov offering tax credit for mom and dad and eligibility for kids. No Medicaid and CHIP eligibility. Does Highmark offer policies only for children? There have been some issues with a family applying, and the husband, wife, and some of the children are offered a subsidy, if you will, and the others, some of the others are saying that they're not eligible for a subsidy. And I'll confirm this, but what my information says is that if a child is not offered a subsidy and they're referred to the Medicaid and CHIP, it means that within our current Medicaid guidelines that they are eligible for free CHIP and therefore in the Medicaid system and not eligible for a subsidy. But again, I will get that confirmed and I'll have an update for you next week. And Highmark does offer policies for children only, both on and off. Rich asks if the application process a quicker turnaround on the quoting portal EBICS compared to using the healthcare.gov website. I would hope, Rich, but without any live testing, it's hard to know the answer to that. Brian says, ACA app submitted now, will they be effective 1/1? They will be eligible for a 1/1 effective date. However, they will have to make payment and have that to the carrier ASAP, at the very least by 12/31, posted by 12/31, in order to secure a 1/1 effective date. And I can't stress that enough. Tracy asks about the NEPA commissions, and still nothing. And Anna asks, what's the cutoff for Highmark apps that must be submitted by 12/31? And it's 12/23. They have to be submitted to Highmark by 12/23 to secure a 12/31/2013 effective date. 12/23, I believe, is a Monday. So if at all possible, if you can get them in on the 20th, that would greatly help us for the rush on the 23rd. And Ken says, do you have any thoughts on what would happen if a broker pursues this market and it does implode? Is it going to be worth pursuing the market if that should occur? Well, if it does implode, the carriers still have the coverage secured. And, you know, I have no clue what will happen if it, you know, here's the thing. I don't think the law is going to be repealed at all. It may be modified, but I don't think it's going to be modified for this enrollment period. So 2015 enrollment is a whole different story, but at this point, if it implodes, you know, quite frankly, one could argue that it's imploding already. It's still going to be worth it because the people will still get coverage, guaranteed issue with no pre-existing. So it looks like that is the end of the questions. Again, if you want to tune in every week, you can tune in on next Thursday, December 19th at 9:30. The invitation will be in our newsletter, as it usually is, or you can go to our website and go to the calendar of events and also sign in from that spot as well. Again, I'm going to just once again reiterate the call to action. If you're not doing business with us, I really do know that we have gone above and beyond, and we're on the agent and broker side. We're pure wholesale, so we are relying on you, and I just hope that you consider moving to URL. I know you won't be disappointed. So again, thank you all for participating today, and I hope you have a great week and a great weekend. Bye-bye.